What's up? You are in the Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit KJ Green. Welcome you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up in this edition, Major League Baseball drives closer and closer to the cliff of no games. Will they make a deal? We'll go into that no play abyss. The NBA gets ready for life under the bubble, but is dissension in the ranks already afoot? We'll have those top headlines along with Hoodwood Hot 5. Phat, head slap, and a wide array of sports takes and opinions. Fasten your seatbelts, the Sports with Hoodwood's on deck. Fired up and ready to go.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Regional Hoodwood, where the locals are getting more and more restless and have taken to liking Korean baseball and Australian rules football for its sports fix. No, we're not going to report on that, not just yet. We haven't gotten that desperate. I'm your man, KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. And the top story of the week is Major League Baseball with a deal. Maybe. Possibly. No. Wait a minute. They don't have a deal. They're talking about having a deal. And wait a minute. I'm hearing that. No. Snuffy heard that they have a deal. No. Snuffy heard that he didn't have a deal. And basically, it's getting more and more convoluted by the second, people. As of the Thursday taping of this show, there is another counter proposal by the Major League Baseball Players Association for a 70-game season, countering the MLB offer of a 60-game season. Now, the date on this taping of the show was June 18th. We are getting closer and closer to a point of no return, where we're not going to be able to get that many games in. We are looking at the first day of summer in just a couple of days. Major League Baseball isn't even in spring training yet. They haven't even gotten all the language together to restart the season. Now, many people are saying, why are they even fighting? They have a labor deal. They're supposed to go back to work. But it isn't that simple. The problem is when Major League Baseball interrupted its season, put its season on pause in March, they basically wrote up an agreement saying, okay, when the season does start back up, because the way it was looking at first, that it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks, that the Major League Baseball players, the union, would agree to take a prorated salary. The problem is that the owners now have thrown different proposals to restart the season and have vastly cut down the number of games that will be played and the amount that will be paid to the players. So they are prorating their prorate. Sounds kind of confusing, but it seems that Major League Baseball, led by the commissioner, Rob Manfred, has juggled a number of proposals and thrown them at the players, many of which are calling for a reduction in salary. The players union, led by Tony Clark, want no part of it. They basically want to prorate the season from when they start, the number of games, and not give a discount to Major League Baseball, to the owners. That is the sticking point. That is the thing that keeps throwing things around. Now, the latest proposal, the counter proposal, I should say, that they would start the season on July 19th, which is, according to my calendar, that will be on a Sunday. They would start on a Sunday, July 19th, and run the season about 8 weeks. Be a 70-game season running from July 19th to September 30th, which would be a Wednesday, if my calendar is correct. Look here, and it does say that September 20th is a Sunday. The reason I know that, because September 20th is my birthday. But that's neither here nor there. September 30th is a Wednesday, yes. I'm looking at the calendar while I'm doing the show. But anyway, I'll cut that out. Anyway, the proposal is going to be from the Major League Baseball. The Major League Baseball proposal is from July 19th to September 30th, which starts the season on a Sunday and runs through the last day of September. They will also have full prorated pay, spring training to start on June 26th, which is in 10 days. Expanded playoffs from 10 to 16 teams for this season and next season when they have a full season. Minimum minimum pool playoff shares in 2020 based on rounds played. $50 million if the full playoff is staged, and a 50-50 split of incremental TV revenues for any postseason games in 2021. Also, now this is one of the big sticking points, the salary advance forgiveness for all the players on the March agreement. Now remember, there's an agreement that was signed in March when they paused the season, when they paused spring training. There's also a few other things in like social justice initiatives, clubs being able to sell advertisements on uniforms. It's kind of messy, but they've thrown this counter proposal to the owner's 60-game proposal that they put out yesterday. The problem is that the owners, Major League Baseball, want to make sure that the players, the union, will not sue them for breaking their agreement that they first agreed to in March. That is the sticking point. Now, the MLBPA's counterproposal says that both sides agreed not to sue each other for breaking the agreement. Will this be the proposal that gets everything done? 2 weeks ago, I was confident that they were going to get a deal done. Now I'm not so sure. One of my Facebook friends, Cincinnati Enquirer columnist Paul Doherty, basically has said, we don't care anymore. And it's almost like an apathetic feeling now, because you have millionaires fighting with billionaires and a public that is dealing with this pandemic would love to have a distraction. The problem is that Major League Baseball, the owners, and the union have such a deep-seated distrust for one another that they can't trust each other to do right and not stab each other in the back when they get half a chance. And Major League Baseball, of course, holds the upper hand because they're the game. They're the ones that are trying to put the game on. They're the stewards of the game. The players, the actual commodity, have actually gotten good press because through their union leader, union president, Tony Clark, have basically put out, let's play. Let's just, we want to tell us when to play. We'll get out there and we'll play. That has been a PR boon for the players who are now coming off as sympathetic. They're like, we just want to play. The tweets have gone out. Players have let off a lot. Players are saying, hashtag, tell us when and where to play. They want to play. And now they've thrown the ball back at the owners and Rob Manfred, who looked awfully clumsy Monday night in an interview with ESPN's Mike Greenberg, trying to walk back his 100% sure they were going to play. Now he's like, I'm not sure if we're going to play, trying to throw a saber rattling at the players. Time is running out. Let's be frank here. Taping of this show is June 18th. We are staring at the possibility of the first calendar year since 1868 without baseball, ever. With no games, no games. And Major League Baseball and its union, they need to get their minds right, because they keep doing this, they're going to mess it up. They need to basically sit down, come to a compromise. You're not going to get 100 games in now. You're not going to get 90 games. Split the difference, call it 65, and let's get this started. This nation needs something, given the civil unrest, given the pandemic. They need something to cheer. They need something a distraction. Not necessarily something that's going to take the total focus off of social justice, because that's not what we want. But they need something. Something. Let's take our first time out. Come back and look at life under the bubble. Or so it may be. The NBA gets ready to play its season, or I should say resume its season. But is there dissension in the ranks about restarting the season? Sports Hoodwood comes back after this.
You're tuned into Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinions on the world of sports. Here now live in living color, black by popular demand, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood, and the music that you hear playing in the background and the entrances and exits are from the album The Hoodwood Hustle. It's the theme music for I'm trying to get the glare off of the CD. Hoodwood Hustle, Hoodwood's house band, the Uptown Gang, featuring moi. Putting some nice beats together. If you want it, send me an email, kjgreen@blackbanditproductions.com, and I will send you a copy. Let's talk about the NBA. Now, according to an agreement from the NBA and their Players Association, they have agreed to restart their season. Now, the way the timeline is going, that players are beginning to return to their team markets, and by June 22nd, all the players will have returned to their respective markets, the 22 teams that will be playing the rest of the season. Now, the head coaches will be able to work with players in voluntary workouts on the 23rd, and then the scene will shift to Orlando, Florida on July 7th. And then from the 9th to the 29th of July, training camp will resume in Florida with 3 scrimmages per team, with the seeding game starting on July 30th and the playoffs starting on August 17th. Now, the NBA has a timeline. They sent out a 100-page memo. Is that possible? A memo being 100 pages? That's a tome. That's an instruction manual. That's an employee handbook. It's not a memo. But they sent out a 100-page memo detailing the protocols for social distancing, for safety and sanitation, and the remaining teams will be cooped up, if you will, at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. And many people are saying, well, you know, you could have a team there as long as 67 days. The 2 teams that make the NBA Finals, which are scheduled to start on September 30th, are looking at an upwards of 2.5 months of being in isolation, in a bubble, if you will. And many are questioning if the Players will have the stamina to be able to survive that long. If you were under any kind of quarantine, you were home, isolated for a number of days. I know I was. I sat here in the Hoodwood watching TV, reading books. I had plenty of food, but it was kind of mind-numbingly boring after a while. And there are some players who have expressed concern about the safety. You know, we are still dealing with a pandemic, and they have rights to be concerned. Players like Damian Lillard had voiced concern about returning to play. But there are other players that have expressed concern not for returning to play, but playing in the light of the social protests that have been going on. Namely, one of the most loud and prominent voices has been Nets guard Kyrie Irving, who, as in his role as vice president of the union, called a number of Zoom and video conferences with other players to say that maybe they shouldn't play. Maybe they should just sit out the rest of the season and protest. Some of the other prominent voices that have spoke about not playing is Lakers reserve center Dwight Howard. Now, I'm being blunt here. I'm not a fan of either one of them. So maybe that colors my judgment. But Kyrie Irving is injured. Kyrie Irving's not playing the rest of the season. Dwight Howard is gravy training, hoping that the Lakers can win a title and he can get a ring. Gravy training. I have no use for either one of them. I think that social protest has its place. And I'm not saying at all that the players should not be able to protest on the court, be able to wear I Can't Breathe shirts, that they are able to speak out and speak clearly without any kind of fear of reprisal about what's been going on in this country the last few months. Things have been moving at a warp speed in the terms of protest, in the terms of people speaking out. And I am all for players speaking up and speaking out. Their voices need to be heard, and they need to join the chorus of people who are speaking out about Black Lives Matter, about police brutality, about real social justice and social change. But is sitting out the season is just saying we're not going to play the season, we're going to stop the season to call attention to social injustice. They're saying, well, it'll distract from the matters at hand. I disagree. The matters at hand will be the matters at hand, whether there are games played or not. But I'm thinking that the prominent players in the NBA, the faces of the NBA, speaking up and saying, hey, Black Lives Matter. Hey, social justice now. We need these things to happen. Not tomorrow, not next week. We need work to be done on it now. Those type of things can be done in a much greater, grander voice if these players are there, prominent, on TV, kneeling before during the national anthem, warming up with the I Can't Breathe shirts on, saying Black Lives Matter, speaking out about it while the games are playing. There will be millions of eyes on this. Sitting out is not going to serve that same purpose. Being visible will. Let's take another time out, and we'll come back with Hoodwood Hot 5 with Phat Dap Head Slap, and the final word from Wood. Sports from the Hoodwood continues after this.
Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's premier location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinion on the world of sports. Here now, the man with 100% certified fresh take, your host, KJ Green.
And on we go in the Hoodwood with the Hoodwood Hot 5. 5 topics, quick hits on things going on around the sporting world, things that I deem worthy of taking an extra closer look at. First topic, is Kendrick Perkins the new voice of conscience in the NBA? The retired big man has been quite vocal in his criticism of Kyrie Irving, as well as other players he feels have not been playing ball, if you will, and keeping in step with the restart of the NBA season. Kendrick Perkins, I was never a big fan of when he played. I thought he was kind of a slow plodding big man. And when he got in with ESPN, I didn't think much of him. I thought he had lame takes and really weak opinions. But he has seemingly found his voice, and he has gotten really good, and he's drawn the ire of a lot of players for his pointed criticism. And I think it's a good thing that you have former players unafraid to speak up and speak out and go against the grain of what some people may feel popular opinions. Kendrick Perkins, I think, is growing into his analyst role, and I think he is doing very well. Our second topic in the Hoodwood Hot 5 is in regards to Josh Gordon. Now, Josh Gordon is the type of player that I can't stand. Now you say, why can't I stand him? Someone with God-given ability. I mean, blessed with speed, hands, oodles of talent, and he continues to piss it away with drugs. And it goes all the way back to when he played at Baylor. And he was suspended in 2011 for failing a drug test and testing positive for marijuana. Now, with the relaxed attitudes about marijuana now, I really don't have a problem with it. But someone like Gordon, who has had numerous troubles with marijuana and drug use, it's a sad case. He has been in and out of the NFL substance abuse programs numerous times. And as you can see on the graphic, he has been, in 2014, was suspended from the Browns, placed on injury reserve, suspended indefinitely for violating the NFL's performance enhancing drugs and substance abuse. That's his 5th suspension. 5th. And what I don't understand is someone of his talent who can play as well as he can and can make an obscene amount of money, continuing to throw his career away. Now, Josh Gordon's 29. Now, the shelf life for wide receivers may run a little longer than other position players, but he has lost 3 years of his career due to suspensions. And teams are a little leery. Now, the Seahawks may be picking him up, and he can apply for reinstatement, but one has to wonder if Josh Gordon's reinstatement is a good move or an empty gesture. The third topic in the Hoodwood Hot 5, I can stop closing my eyes. The third topic in the Hoodwood Hot 5 goes toward Mark Cuban, the loquacious owner of the Dallas Mavericks, one I'm not a big fan of, but he has said that if his players kneel on the sideline before games the rest of the season, that he would support them, even though the NBA right now has a mandate against kneeling on the sideline, but many people think that may be relaxed given the climate of the day. Cuban has said that he would not only support his team, but he would kneel right alongside them. Now, as a Mavericks owner, I'm not a very big fan of his. On Shark Tank, he's alright. But Cuban gets it. And he has been one of the more progressive owners in the NBA. And he's owned the Mavericks almost 20 years. And he has been one of the more progressive voices and owners of the NBA. To see him kneeling on the sideline, someone may think it's a pub stunt. But I think that Mark Cuban would be honest and sincere with this. Our fourth topic goes to the social climate and the climate of the pandemic. Dr. Anthony Fauci has said that there may be a second wave of the coronavirus coming when the weather gets cooler. Well, when the weather's getting cooler, that means the heart of football season. And he has recommended that football be played in a bubble situation too. Would this work? Now you're saying with basketball players, you only have a limited amount of players that are playing, that are on the teams. Football teams encompass anywhere from 47 to 53 people. And that's just the players. We're not talking about the coaches. This could really impact the football season for both college and pros. This is going to be a real big mess. Stay tuned. Our fifth topic in the Hoodwood Hot 5 is in regards to Kansas coach Bill Self. Now, he is apparently thinking of bringing up a lawsuit against the NCAA because the NCAA has launched numerous investigations on his program. The problem is a coach going against the NCAA never goes well. The NCAA is vindictive. The NCAA is petty. The NCAA holds grudges. If you are a coach that gets on his bad side, remember the late, great Jerry Tarkanian? They make it hard, very hard for you to ply your trade. Now, Tarkanian battled the NCAA for years as coach of UNLV before the NCAA finally ran him out of coaching college for a while. He turned back up his alma mater, Fresno State, and coached them, but he still battled the NCAA. And Bill Self may very well learn what Jerry Tarkanian did, that battling the NCAA is a losing proposition. He may be right, but in the long run, the NCAA has deeper pockets than he does, and he will lose. Let's take our final timeout. Come back with the final word from the wood. But before that, we also have Phat Dapper Head Slap. Sports from the Hood heads down the home stretch after this.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
Rounding third and headed for home here in. My name's KJ Green, and we will finish up strong with the Phat Dap, and Slap of the Week, and the final word from the wood. This week's Phat Dap goes to former Minnesota Lynx star player Maya Moore, who literally walked away from the game to help promote the causes of social justice. Most notably, the case of Jonathan Irons, a man convicted of murder in Missouri, despite a host of, at best, circumstantial evidence. Irons was convicted of murder when Maya Moore, before he even got to college. And Moore has heard about Irons' case and has more or less dedicated her time and more or less put her career on hold to help get Irons free. Now, Irons has had his appeal heard and his sentence vacated, but is still remaining in prison as the state of Missouri is deciding whether to retry him. But Moore deserves all sorts of dap for her efforts and for sacrificing her career, which was very lucrative and very promising. She had won a number of WNBA championships along the way, but she had decided to more or less walk away from her career to further the causes of social justice, real justice as well. Walking away from a lucrative hoops career for justice deserves dap, one and all. And we dap Maya Moore for her efforts. Our head slap of the week goes to Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy. I don't know. The guy seems a little bit tone deaf. Having a host of players of color, but wearing a t-shirt that is supporting of a network that floats conspiracy theories and likes to dog the causes of social justice and groups like Black Lives Matter. Mike Gundy is at best tone deaf and at worst just blatantly oblivious to the needs of his players, many of whom, or most of whom, are black. His star running back Chuba Hubbard was very pointed in his criticism of Gundy wearing an OAN t-shirt. Now, Gundy says that he was oblivious and made a very, very tragic mistake, saying, quote, he was a dumbass, end quote, for wearing an OAN shirt. Now, I could have told you that. But Chuba Hubbard, a star running back, someone who could probably be an NFL prospect, basically said he wasn't going to do anything with Oklahoma State or with Gundy until he got answers and he got some sort of closure. Now, they more or less patched it up on social media, which I thought was a little bit kind of stilted and staged. But it seems that Gundy has gotten back in Hubbard's good graces. But then there have been rumors surfacing that Gundy used a racial slur all the way back in 1989. Now, after a while, actions like this will get you fired. And Gundy is walking a very, very, very thin line on thin ice. Gundy's a good coach. He's a very loquacious coach, very outspoken and colorful. But in this day and age, racial animus is going to get you run quickly. And now, without any much further ado, let's go to the final word from the wood. They say hindsight is 20/20 vision. And hindsight paints a brilliantly clear picture in this case. Cap was right. Colin Kaepernick took a knee in 2016 to protest the social injustices and police brutality afforded on people of brown and black skin. He was widely scorned, mocked, vilified, called a son of a bitch by then presidential candidate Donald Trump. More or less excommunicated and blackballed from the NFL at near the height of his career. There were many that said, well, he can't play. That's the reason he got put out. But it was the social injustices that Kaepernick had brought to light, something that this country was then afraid to face and now still coming to grips with. That was the real point and crux of his campaign. The problem is now when we have the number of shootings and killings of people of brown skin, that these are being highlighted, that people are taking a knee for. And to a lesser extent, the police brutality afforded on all people. Lest we forget Daniel Shaver, Tony Templer, men who were killed by police, though they were unarmed and posed no greater threat. But the violence has been happening disproportionately to people of color. When I have my own daughters worry about my own safety when I leave the house, when I leave the Hoodwood on a daily basis, that is something that gives me pause on a regular basis. But the thing is this: Colin Kaepernick sacrificed more or less his career to underscore the plight that is befallen or has always been a problem to people of color. Police brutality is something that is not new. Police brutality has been something that has been a blot on good law enforcement as far back as there has been law enforcement. Colin Kaepernick more or less highlighted this and brought this to light. Now, as Colin Kaepernick is less of a vilified figure, there are other teams, NFL teams, that are possibly interested in his services. In a surprise gesture, President Trump actually said maybe Colin Kaepernick should get another shot in the NFL. That son of a bitch, the one that you said should have been fired, the one you said get him off the field, now you think he should have a second chance. He should have never lost his first chance. Colin Kaepernick did nothing wrong. All Colin Kaepernick did was bring to light something that needed to be looked at, something that needed to be paid attention to. And the NFL, exacerbated by pressure from the president, ran him off the field, made him feline and non grata, cat not welcome. That in itself was a real crime. And though there was a settlement, undisclosed amounts were given to Kaepernick so he would not further his pursuit, and collusion would not be found by the NFL owners and Commissioner Roger Goodell. Colin Kaepernick deserves a second chance to be on a field as a NFL quarterback. He has sacrificed enough. He deserves and should be afforded that second chance. And that is the final word from the wood. With the music coming up in the background, you know that means your time in the Hoodwood is just about done, and I thank you so much for your visit again this week. The email for the show is kjgreen@blackbanditproductions.com. Send me emails, show topics, questions, comments, and criticism. And welcome to your correspondence, and I try to respond to every email in a timely manner. You can catch this podcast on a number of sites, Amazon Prime, where the video version is hosted. I'm also on iTunes, Google Play, as well as YouTube. The show site itself is hoodwoodsports.podbean.com. As previous show back catalog, as well as the music soundtrack of the show, the Hoodwood Hustle, which you can also request via the email. And it also has audio versions of the show that you can request and download. I'm also on Facebook at Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises. I'm also on Twitter, KJGreen20 and KJGreenBB. Special thanks to Rage Pictures for their continued fine production of this show. And that is that, fellow sports fans. Until next time out in the Hoodwood, I'm KJ Green, 30.
Sports from the Hoodwood
is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation
of a 551 Audio and Films production.